So today's question of the day comes from James, and James asks, is there a shame in being in the military for 20 years serving just for the retirement pay? So for those of you who don't know, when you are in the military for 20 years, you can retire, and each month the military gives you money. And the second question James asks is being in the reserves frowned upon? So I'll start by answering the second question because it's going to be the easiest. And my answer to that is no, not at all. Right? When you are active in the military, you either do 4 years, 5 years, or 6 years, and you get paid accordingly, and you do things accordingly, whatever your contract is. When you are in the reserves, you do it for 8 years, and the amount of time you put in, you get paid accordingly, and within that time you go on a deployment somewhere, right? My brother is in the Army National Guards, went to Europe. My cousin, who is in the Air Force, in the Air Force Reserves, it went to Middle East. So you still serve and you still get your benefits and your pay accordingly. Just because you're in the reserves doesn't make you of a lesser military personnel. You still get the same training. You still have to follow the same rules. So it's on the equal footing. Okay, so don't feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't join the reserves, right? For some people, reserves is the right way to go compared to being active in the military full time, right? Being in the military part time, you're still technically military personnel 24/7, but actively engaged in the military part time just suits some people more than other people. Like I know one individual is in the reserves and he's running for like local office. And that's what makes him happy, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. So to get to the main meat of the question here, which is there a shame in serving 20 years just for the retirement pay? So what I feel like it's a moral struggle, and it's not just James, okay? In this scenario, this person, what I feel like he is feeling is, hey, I'm joining an organization, being in the military, but I am more enticed for the money compared to the feeling of service, right? I'm more excited about the money than service, okay? Which is normal, right? When I first decided to join back at 2014, November 14th, sitting down in my school's library working on my English paper, and I had a bright idea of, hey, maybe I should join the military. I only had two thoughts in mind. Number one, the money, and number two, I knew being in the military was going to help me become a much more refined version of myself, right? When I decided to join the military, the service factor was not even, it didn't even go through my mind, okay, honestly. And in my opinion, money and the potential for future benefits is why a lot of people join the military compared to the service, feeling of service, feeling of serving the country. I know there are some people that join the military just for the service, but let me give you 3 reasons here. Okay, 3 things. Number one, that's how the game is played. Okay, that's how the rule is initially laid out. The military said, hey, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, right? You do your 20 years and you can retire and we'll give you money. They made that rule. So there is no shame in following that rule, right? If there wasn't any light at the end of the tunnel, if they didn't have this thing, in my opinion, most people wouldn't even join. Most people wouldn't even begin that journey to go through this tunnel where they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Some people will go and they will turn back because they said, hey, I give up. I can't see any potential benefit in this, right? So they just turn back and find something else, which leads me into second thing, because money is the biggest driving factor, right? Money is the biggest driving factor, because if I could potentially, survey every single military personnel and I said, hey, you have 2 choices here, okay? You have number 1, you can either quit being in the military, or number 2, you can be in the military. They're going to give you just enough to live, a place to sleep, food to eat, and they're not going to give you any money at all. You're just in the military just to serve. Guess what? In my opinion, most people would not be in the military. Most people would not be in the military. Only a very small percentage would be in the military. It's all about money, right? In our modern day society, you need money. And most people are driven by money, whether you would like to admit it or not. I have not met a single person, right, whether you are in the military or whether you are a civilian, that says, hey, I want to serve my country. Hey, I want to serve this world. So let me work and let me just, pay my expenses, pay my bills, and all the rest of the money I'm going to donate. I have not met a single person like that. Okay? And I don't think, I'm sure there are some people that come close to it, but that is a very small percentage. Okay? So don't have this moral struggle. Okay? Most people are just enticed by money because that's what we need to live within our society. Okay? So third thing here is the benefit to this 20-year thing. You might be saying, hey, I'm joining because of the money, but I'm going to put in 20 years time. That by itself, it's still a good thing, right? Because once you're in the military for 20 years, you accumulate some knowledge, experience, wisdom that you can pass on to the future military people to come. Right? Once they come in, you pass on, you teach them what they know, and the military standard goes up. And once you are in for 20 years, you still go on deployments, you still do things, fix a ship, or go off on a deployment, whatever branch you serve. You still do things that at the end of the day, at the end of 20 years, that you earn that paycheck, that you earn that right to be paid each month because you served 20 years in the military. You earn it along the way, right? You don't just sit in a room for 20 years and say, hey, I'm just going to do nothing, and at the end of 20 years, I'm going to get this paycheck. No, along the way, you're going to earn it, right? For example, being in the Navy, you could be away for 9 months in a ship, away from your family, away from the rest of the world, and you could be doing that a couple of times within your military career, right? So along the way, you earn it. Or whether you're in the Army or Marines, you could potentially go into combat where bullets are being flown at you and you get shot, whatever, right? Along the way, you earn it. So don't have this sense of shame that, hey, I'm thinking about joining the military, but it's not so much because of service, but it's more so much because of money. That's completely normal. That's completely normal. So I hope that helped. I know it was a little bit long. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great Navy day.